welcome to officially the Quiet Girl. You double dog dared me last time I was here to start this, and
I did.
so I had no idea what I was doing and which direction I was going, and I've decided I want to question all the narratives. But with you, I think all your conversations with people, you talk about business and deep things and politics, and the thing most interesting about you is everything everyone doesn't know about you. And I would like to ask questions that someone who knows you can ask so people get to know you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You put me in a hot seat, I'm putting you in a hot
I'm an
seat.
open book here, so.
Yeah, not really. First of all, I want to shout out to your beautiful girlfriend, Christina. And I know that you are, and this is what you don't know about Jordan, he is actually extremely sensitive and caring about other people's feelings. You wouldn't think that, no matter women he's gone through, you think, oh, he just rolls through them, but you're actually one of those biggest, gentlest hearts, and you are worried that our even doing this could upset your girlfriend.
I don't like to hurt someone.
Yeah.
I know that, again, that you and I are always going to be great friends and we'll always love each other for the relationship that we had. And then I have someone in my life right now, and you respect that. And I'm sure if she was here, it's like COVID. She wouldn't care if she was here.
Yes.
You and I would probably be great friends.
I think we'd get along great.
Really
I
good.
like everything.
No, you would really.
I have to say, I'm taking myself out of the equation. You've steadily gone up. I mean, except for your first wife, I think you set the bar with sweetness very well, very well. So I think you could find your way back to it at some point because you knew what it looked like. But you've taken some left turns, and I'm really glad that you're back on the path to.
But you guys would be friends. Just
Yes.
I think you were dating someone too, and it's very difficult. And
Well, let's just talk about choices. But we can't talk.
no, but
we have
how do you
nothing
do it?
nice to
It's
say
hard when
about
you
that.
separate when you can't travel. It's very hard,
Yeah, well, I almost feel responsible for COVID because I shouldn't have been with him, and I apologize to everybody because I needed to be kept away from him. And you agree.
I agree.
So let's start with, like I said, you're actually very sensitive, and I don't think it's easy being you. I mean, you have this grand life, and you made it into a book, and I think you made lemons out of lemonade, and I'm not talking about the Quaaludes. Whenever I say that regarding to you, everyone
Lemons
else,
out of lemonade,
lemonade out of lemons, yeah. But like every time I say that, people like assume I'm talking about Quaaludes
Right.
with you. Like no matter what people say, they're always going to associate you with the movie and the sensationalism, when that's not really you. I mean, it was at a time. I think you just like to do things better than other people. So whatever you did, it wasn't that you were this terrible guy. You were doing what everyone was doing. You just did it better.
The most of.
You
Right.
know, we have that in common too. When you were a child, you went to a therapist, and what did he say about your mind again?
He said that when my brain is working correctly, it's like the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and when it's not working correctly, it's a fucking nightmare. It's
a
like the
natural
most
disaster.
that natural disaster has the ability to create natural disasters. So like my mind is powerful, but sometimes it's in sync and sometimes it's out of sync. When it's in sync, it's amazing. When it's not, I'm almost my own worst enemy.
Yes, I think you are.
Yeah.
No, I see it. Like your life can be going really, really well, but your mind doesn't stop working. I don't know if you know how to shut it down. Is that why you have to play tennis? Because it's the only time you get a respite from thinking?
So I think with tennis, it's something that I'm never going to be good enough at that it really matters. Like I don't have the natural ability to be like a world-class player. I could play 10 hours a day since I'm 5 years old, and I would never be Roger Federer or Nadal. But by sheer force of will and practice, I've gotten myself to a really, really high level of proficiency by modeling. But in those moments when I'm pursuing this goal that really has no meaning other than it's my own goal, my mind is completely focused on the achievement of it. So like I'm focused on this one little ball, and I'm working up a sweat, and there's endorphins running. And during that time, all I'm thinking about is trying to perfect something that I'm not really naturally gifted at. versus in business and in selling and in marketing, I'm naturally gifted at it, and I hold myself to such a high standard that no matter what I'm doing, I'm always trying to get to the next level. With tennis, I'm just using every bit of brain power I have to try to do something I'm not naturally inclined to be great at. And I've gotten really good at it, but still I walk on the court with like a professional player, like a Vince Spady or a Jeff Turan. They blow me off the court because without practicing even 1/10 as much. It's all about natural ability, you know?
Yeah, well, you're coordinated.
No, I am. I'm not, but listen, we're talking about world class.
Yeah.
Athletes.
We can talk about your golf game, but
Let's keep golf. Yeah. So we'll keep golf out of it.
Here's another thing. When I first met you, you told me, listen, I don't ever really get upset because once you've been to prison, life, you just don't get upset. I mean, you just appreciate everything, and I'm a really even keel guy.
I was just trying to get in your pants.
Yeah, so full of shit. Can I say that? Yeah, you were so
then
full
we
of
were
shit.
in the golf course, and I think I threw a
Within
temper tantrum.
3 weeks of knowing you, I saw you lose your nut. Yeah.
Yeah, golf is something that I played golf yesterday. Is really just, oh my God! I guess they invented the reason the word "fuck" exists is when you're playing golf, so you can just keep practicing that word and. Fuck those Irish people or Scots who invented it, because it's really, I can't quite figure out the physics of it all. But one day, if I have enough time, I will.
Okay, so back to you and the sensitive, sweet Jordan that I know. And that people who do business with you, I don't think they know that either. We'll get to your intelligence as well. But what's your greatest fear, you think?
I think my greatest fear is not achieving what I know that I'm capable of achieving.
Not being alone?
Well, besides, that's a personal fear.
Okay.
I hate being alone. There's no doubt. I absolutely hate being alone. There's no doubt about it. I don't even know why. I just hate being alone.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Because you're left alone with your thoughts?
It's not just that. It's just that, like, one of the reasons why you and I separated is you're a loner. Like, you live in the cabin in the woods now, and you love to be your default.
I'm self-sufficient.
Your default position is to be alone. Mm-hmm. And you like to travel by yourself. You like to sleep by yourself. You like to live by yourself. And I'm the exact opposite.
Well, I'm too sensitive for.
No, I get yeah. So like for me, like when I'm living with a woman, and one thing about both you and Christina is you both have like really pure hearts, okay? And there's something about like living with someone with a pure heart that it brings out the better side. It makes me feel more stable.
I have to say, and sadly for me, but I think you did a lot of learning on me. You're welcome, Christina, and any other woman. I've never seen you be so kind and sensitive and patient and loving towards a woman than you have been with your most recent girlfriend. And that's, people say people don't change or they don't learn, especially men, and women say that, like, you're never going to change them. But I've actually seen you evolve and change, and I think it's impressive.
I think that the issue with that is that you were like my sort of hump relationship in the sense that
it was one long hump.
No, like I think that like I went into the relationship with Christina, trusting women in general.
Okay.
So I think that I knew it was possible to have someone that I could, even though we ended up.
I was paying for the last one.
Well,
even though we ended up
splitting, even though we ended up splitting up, it still wasn't because you cheated on me or did some. It was just honestly, it was like drifting apart, and I think a lot of that you're wanting to be alone, me liking to be with someone all the time, and that just not.
Well, that's not okay. Back if you want to talk about us, I don't. What a lot of people don't know, and I hope to when I write a little bit of what I'm writing. We did not have the easiest of times, and it had nothing to do with our personalities either. Some of it was that you didn't know how sensitive. Okay, switching subjects. You are really intuitive. That's the other thing. You think Jordan's not this sensitive guy. You can walk in a room and you are very good at reading everybody's energy and what they're about. And you, when we did have a rough patch and we went to therapy, when I went into the therapist alone after she'd met with you, she already knew me. And I thought, Jordan doesn't even know me that well. And she said, nope, he described you perfectly. I know exactly, you're an HSP, you're this and that. And you got it. Like you,
HSP meaning for those that don't know.
Oh, highly sensitive person.
Right.
Like highly sensitive person. Only you could tell people how hard
You're
that is to be
sensitive.
around.
No, I just think that I think that when you and I met, I was
We
like,
had so many outside. We started so many different companies. We were up against the government drama. We were up against the press and the negativity. We were trying to overcome. I had to overcome your past.
well,
That was rough.
the movie
Yeah,
came out,
that was
right?
hard.
And I think that just that when I went with this relationship, I guess I found myself with a woman that I definitely trusted, and and I trusted you too. But I think I grew to trust you. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
I was just untrusting in the beginning because of nothing to do with you, just because of me.
Wow.
And also the great thing was we didn't speak the same language.
Oh,
So
it's this new girl.
so Christina and
Christina,
I,
yes.
so Christina and I, we met, and I had to learn Spanish really quickly, and I got very proficient in Spanish, and then I had to stop speaking Spanish because she wasn't learning English, and then she started learning English, and I think in some level because we had to, we never were able to say things to each other that were that damaging because it took too long to think. And I
That's a
think
great
no,
gift.
I think it
really
was. So
is.
in our worst fights,
Yes.
it was like, and then I as well. I was at a point where I was almost basically fluent in Spanish, but if I got angry with her, I couldn't speak a word of Spanish. It all was English, and she'd be like, "What?"
So you never say any of those things you can't take back.
Exactly.
That's
So that was
great.
part of it. And also, I think that we didn't. It took time for us to really get to the deeper levels. It took longer for us to talk about things that were more important because of the language barrier. And
What makes you put the time in? And I think the more time and
Yeah.
energy you put into something, the greater.
and
Yes.
and also I think that I think that like I was ready in the sense that I realized like I appreciate everything that we had. You look back at a relationship and we had our rocky patches. We were the opposite. The first 5 years were miserable with us. It was
So
terrible.
we
And then we
fell
settled into a
blows.
calm. Yeah.
We threw blows that would fell
Yeah,
lesser
it was
giants.
Pretty
Yes.
bad.
Yeah.
And then we fell into a calm. And then eventually whatever. It ended up not working out in the end. But one thing I could say is I definitely am better off for have you in my life and still having you in my life. Just a much better person, I think, and understanding women and other people's needs and sensitivities. And I never ever wanted. I don't like hurting other people. I really don't.
No, I know you don't.
Like it. I don't. Even in business, it used to drive you crazy how ethical I am and how I never
You would
I would get taken
people
advantage of.
don't.
Yeah.
I would get so upset
Everyone gets
watching
upset.
you get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Time and again.
Yeah.
And giving people so many second chances to
'Cause
screw us.
Because I always felt like at the end of the day, I was so good at business and making money that I could allow people the benefit of the doubt and always end up on top anyway. When I was very young, I was really ruthless, and I was like very much of like just cutthroat. Like it was just.
Do you think some of it's just a response to how you were in the past and you just don't ever want to be that again? So you
Part of it.
maybe you overcompensate?
Part of it. Part of it I will compensate. And I think that also, I think one thing about salespeople, like the greatest salespeople, the biggest suckers in the world. Because like we love to, it's like, and I get sold very easily. I do, I'll
Yes,
admit
you
it.
do. I've seen
No,
it.
I do. I love to get sold because I love to be sold. I love to sell. I love to be sold. And I love the whole process of it.
You like negotiating as well.
Yeah, and I like negotiating, and I get myself I'm a really good negotiator, but I have over the last 10 years certainly allowed certain people along the way to get more out of me than they should have been shut out quickly, but I gave them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, I think I had to get rid of a few of them. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, but listen, at the end, it's all good because I'm in a good spot, and you learn along the way. And I think that getting back to my biggest fear, in my personal life, I hate being alone for sure. And I really hate being alone. Like I just hate being alone. I love sharing a space with someone, right? And in business, it's not succeeding at the level that I know that I'm capable of, because I know that Yeah, I know I have a gift, and I just know that. All right? And I feel that anyone that has a gift, and I think my gift has a lot to offer the world, and I think that money is just the expression of how much value you've given to people if you're doing things the right way, like I do them now. So it's like if I'm not succeeding wildly, that means that not enough people are hearing my message, not enough people are getting the value I have to offer. So it just sort of just frustrates me, and I find myself feeling angst. So I think when people have a misconception, they're like, oh, I don't fail very often. I fail a lot. I'm just not scared to fail, and I'm scared a lot. I'm just don't let fear stop me.
Yeah, I remember us discussing that one time.
Right.
Exactly. And then, what was my, remember when we were first struggling? Also, this caused a fight. We were struggling, and we were living on a shoestring, just started out. The second book hadn't even come out yet. And I was like, I'll do anything. I'm a hard worker. And I said, I'll go get a job, and I will, I'll contribute. And you're like, you can't make enough money to make a difference. So I was like, what a dick. What a mean thing to say, because I had no idea how big you thought. Like people, what I learned from you is like a lot of people have goals or ideas or visions or things they think of, and they think so small. You've never thought small.
No. Well, I think that what I meant by that was that, like, the answer, and I still believe this for all people, I don't think the answer to achieving wealth and independence, financially speaking, is about getting a salary job and trying to eke out, like, making an extra 50 or 60,000 a year. I think for some people,
I just wanted to be helpful.
No, I understand. No, I know, but I think it's more about, like, I knew that I had an explosive ability to make money, millions of dollars a year, not tens of millions, and it was better for you to support me in that endeavor than just to be off and going in a different direction. So I thought it would be almost like subtractive and not additive. I didn't mean, value, a huge value.
Okay.
You always did,
Let's talk about one of the scariest times we had together. When we were in, I believe it was Malaysia. And we had gone to all those NLP courses. That if you're going to go on the speaking tour, we should learn what's going on. And even though you'd spoken on your own prior, which is why I was like, you've got to do this. You have a gift. You're amazing. You, like everybody, you thought, well, gosh, these people really have been doing it. They might know what they're talking about more than me. I'm going to look to the experts. And so you changed up who you were for a moment. And I remember watching you speak on stage, and I just saw our whole life flash before our eyes. It was like, we're so doomed. We're so doomed.
Right.
What are we going to do?
What you said
it was
to me,
so bad.
No, when we decided this moment, we said, let's go into the speaking business, right? And I remember my agent at the time, Joel, had said, you have to wait till they come for you.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost went through the roof, because the movie was delayed. And I'm like, wait till they come for me. I'm like,
No,
I'm not
then
waiting for anybody.
But then you went
right?
and did it.
Yeah.
But I remember in Malaysia.
No, well, right. So what you're talking about is that,
that horrible night.
You used to say to me that, wow, the way you speak, I could listen to you read the phone book, and it would be
Yes, it was
interesting,
amazing.
Right? And then I went up. So when I went out there, so there's two types of speaking in the seminar world. It's important that people realize this, so you don't get taken advantage of. There's speaking where you're teaching people and you're giving them value. And then there's this other side of the seminar world, which is about getting up on stage and being somewhat of a
one
charlatan.
sales job.
It's a giant sale
Yeah.
so it's not about, in fact, the more value that you give to people, the less they'll end up buying from you, because they feel like they got enough right now and not going to buy. So it's the art of closing from stage. And it's very different than presenting as an informational value-based speech, right? So when I first started hearing this, and I saw all these people, and they have all these little sort of gimmicks they're using. Now, one thing is that, what I was trying to sell people was the truth about making money. That it's about
hard work.
I'm
They
getting
didn't
up
wanna
and
hear
saying,
it.
I'm saying hard work. I'm saying get up there. You got to work your ass off. You got to learn these core skill sets. You have to learn how to close, learn how to market yourself, learn the rules of business. And then I'm on stage with 8 other people saying, you could just sit home in your bathroom and buy my course for $3,000.
And in 5 minutes of time a day,
you're going to be rich, and you never have to work ever again, right? And of course, these people had all these phony testimonials and all these sort of gimmicks.
But it wasn't even what you were saying. It was
No,
the way
I know.
you were saying
No,
it.
what happened was, so what happened was, when I first went out there in Malaysia, it was the first big speech I gave in front of a lot of people, where I was trying to close from stage rather than just sticking to my whole thing and saying, hey, listen, now there's certain rules of closing you could always infuse, like scarcity and urgency. But what I did, which was the mistake I made for this, there was 2 speeches I gave in Malaysia and Singapore, is I tried to not be myself. I tried to like act like as if one of these charlatans on stage.
You were modeling the wrong people.
Yeah, trying that to see, and that's okay, because then that's how you learn. You try something, right? But it was just this terrible, inauthentic way of going, and it's just like it resonated with everything I said was just idiotic. I wasn't in flow, and I remember you were in the audience because you were like, because when I went into this business, we're like, oh, we're gonna be rich, because like if you're the best salesman in the world, oh my God, people are gonna love to hear you speak, and then you're like, we're fucking screwed. It's over. And you heard me
the worst is
the manager was next to you.
The worst is we had to go home back to the room that night, and you were so devastated, and I was trying to comfort you and say all the right things, and inside I'm going, I'm lying because I have no idea.
I knew it was terrible. So what happened was I was just a really bad couple of days, and I had this tour. I was going on in Australia. Right? It was my own tour. It was like a 4-city tour, and all these people bought tickets to see me. And
fortunately, before then, we said to do it your way.
And you and Nick, I remember my manager back then. You guys said, just throw all this stupid shit out and just teach what you teach the way you want to teach it. Forget everything else. And I had this idea. So, I'm gonna do this whole thing with 4 boards up and just do the inner and outer game of success. And I did that, and everyone ran and signed up in Australia, and that began my real speaking career. And it taught me a lesson. That modeling is good. To a point, but if you can't model if it's going to be inauthentic, if it's not authentic to you, and also it was something like as I was saying the words, I knew it was bullshit. Like the stuff that I was saying it was nonsensical. It was just like, and maybe it will work for like a T. Harv Eker. And nothing against T.
Is that the yes or yes guy?
Because
Who is yes or yes?
Because for him it was authentic to him. That was his stuff, and I respect him for that. I'm not saying his stuff is good or bad. It doesn't matter. The point is his whole patterns were like his patterns, and I had my patterns. You know what I'm saying? And also I don't sell a business opportunity. That's a big thing. I always knew all of these years that if we wanted to make $50, $100 million quick, I just take the straight line system and turn it into a business opportunity versus a training course. They're 2 different things. A training course means come buy my stuff and you'll become a salesperson versus come buy my stuff and you can now sell this to other people and make money.
Yeah.
And they're very different things. And one's got like a 10x multiple on it for earnings, right? I never would do that because I just didn't think it was. I didn't think it was ethical. I didn't think it was right. I didn't want to bastardize my brand.
Bastardizes. We always said we'd never bastardize the brand.
Exactly. So I didn't do that, and then thankfully then it culminated. And I remember we went from this like ultra low place, and then within literally 3 weeks. We were in San Diego, and you watched me give a speech at Frank Kern's event, and literally clean out.
There he is.
And I cleaned
That's
out, and
the
I think it was we shut down the event because so many people went to sign up after I gave my speech.
We were giddy.
By the time I was done with that, they're like, I was in my clothes, like, don't close, just we all want to sign up, and they all ran and signed up, Yeah. And the difference was the reason that room was so great was because it was full of people that were real business people. They were marketers, and they understood the value.
Yeah.
So, and that was an important lesson. And then, and since then, that whole market of closing from stage has never been something I really liked very much.
No, I'm not
and I quickly shifted into more of the paid corporate speaking, and that was, I think, a great shift.
Another thing, people. With your intelligence, I'm bouncing on. There's so many things that I think people don't dig into with you. They see what you put out there, and they see how all your success and your comfort with everything. And I think sometimes when you have people on, people might believe you've done research first. I've watched you go into a meeting on a subject. There were some people with some computer type thing. I can't remember. They were at the house and they needed consulting. You never even heard about what they were doing. Within 15 minutes of just asking the right questions, you knew more than they did about what they needed to be doing. And they were blown away. I remember, I think you ended up consulting them for quite a while.
Yeah.
But I don't think people get also your level of intelligence, which bothers me. Because I think people, I don't think people, you obviously are smart, but I don't think people get how smart.
People that know me.
They know you, but you have to see you in every scenario. Like you sat down with my cousin who made lasers for NASA, and he usually dumbs it down, and suddenly you were saying, I don't know what you're talking about. You started asking him like different say something. I don't even know anything lasery.
No, we're talking about just the about light and stuff and relativity and quantum computing and stuff like that.
But you went like way deep, and
Yeah.
he's like, "What? No, you shouldn't know this because it's not your field of
Yeah.
expertise. But you can do that."
I'm a nerd though. I like so you,
Yeah.
but I like.
But I can't remember, and I have no recall.
I default to like when I'm at the airport. I buy like science
Yeah,
magazines.
popular science. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to keep up, and I think that in some level it makes me a better salesperson and business person because I think that I understand very deeply how the world works physically and chemically, and I think that there's some great truth to the universe that like it runs through everything, and it's sort of like understanding the force. And
Well,
like,
you do tap into source. You don't know because you don't believe in some of the stuff I believe in, but you're often tapped into source, which is why
I know
you
I
have
do
your-
believe
yeah.
in it. I just I don't call that same thing, but I know I've had moments in time, like when I invented the straight line system, that I always said like I felt like this window of clarity opened up, and I was almost channeling information, and then sometimes that window closes, and you feel like you're just like blocked. And I'll tell you that I think that it's an important thing for people to realize about success is that window opens for people all over the world. There's these little distinct moments in our lives. We have these windows of clarity, and when it opens, you got to step through and run because you don't know how long it's going to stay open. And it's really sad when it closes. But you see that a lot with like rock groups, like the one hit wonders, like
Yeah.
they had their creative period where they're just like, wow, how'd they do that? And they can't do it anymore. So
I'm still waiting for mine, so I don't know.
I think you're about to hit it right now because I think
don't know.
No, I think I've been begging you to do a podcast of your own and.
Well,
to
mine's
write
just about
books.
asking questions, so I have.
No, I know, but I've been telling you to put yourself out there because listen. I don't agree with a lot of you have a lot of views that it's not that I disagree with them.
Mm-hmm.
That you are so certain about certain things, and I just say I don't know. Like a lot of the way the world is and where we're heading, and I'm not even disagreeing with you as much as I just say you have this great degree of certainty and almost like a knowing that you feel, and it's very difficult for me.
When I know, when I know, but
Yeah.
because there's a knowing.
I understand.
I know it's like you've seen me do things that don't defy. I mean, they defy
No, you have a
logic.
great. You. I know you've picked out the ghosts in certain places, and that and I know you've done some great, amazing stuff like that. But I think that, like, I don't operate in that plane as like
No.
this way you live. I don't. I think I live in much more of the material cause and effect world, and like and I not that I don't disbelieve in what I can't see, but I act on what I can see and what I sense, and I don't get so much caught up in what I can't prove. And what I mean, you're very much into knowing and like things that you feel and know.
Yes. Okay, so back to sensitive, sweet Jordan.
I am sweet.
I know. So a lot of when you go on these podcasts, they want to talk about your debauchery in the movie. And it drives me nuts that that's what you're known for. Because believe me, I think the truth is that you, as fun as it was to live out your fantasies, I don't think that's who you are.
No, it's not.
It's not who you are.
But listen, if you give,
You actually respect women.
of course I respect women.
Yes.
The things that make sense when you're 25 don't make nearly as much sense
who you hang out with.
at 45.
I
No,
think
but
it's also
yeah,
who you surrounded yourself with.
Yes, but I will tell you that it also the drugs. I mean, when you're doing drugs, like I was doing drugs back in the day, a lot of the rules and norms go out the window. Like when you're doing that much partying.
Ask everyone here in Hollywood. Yeah,
and we were
choices, yeah.
that whole the part of the movie where we talked about the drug addiction. It was worse than in the movie even. Like it was really profound the amount of drugs we were doing on a daily basis, and decisions not so much in the beginning but over time were clouded by that, and things that, and also morality is relative, and things that would happen inside the four walls of the boardroom. It's almost like, talk about the new normal. It's like, any society is dictated by its own function. Like we almost were reinforcing our own idea of what normal was by not associating with people outside the firm. It was like a very sort of closed group of thousands of people that all lived under a certain code and rules and guidelines.
But people who didn't read the books, which disappoints me because I think they're so much better than the movie.
Yeah,
so much.
deeper.
And the second
really
book,
shame.
Catching the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, it got lost in the GFC.
Yeah, I even had to edit it, and no one enjoys reading about your guy with other women. It's just no fun. But it was so well written. I actually read it again for fun after doing the final edits. You should find no mistakes in it, by the way. And it was funnier, and I think you got more real, and it was awesome.
No, it was a really good book. It was really sad what happened with that book. So that book came out like literally the day after Lehman Brothers shut down, and it was like all the world wanted to hear about was that everyone was watching. It like literally got sucked in. There was no one buying anything. No one was. There was no advertising campaign.
It is the best for fun read book, and you're more vulnerable in it.
Yeah. Well, the good news is though, it got collapsed into the movie.
Which
some
isn't
of it.
They screwed up.
But
that's their biggest screw up because they could have had a sequel had they known. And the second book went deeper into your before and went into the after. And nobody even knows about Yulia. And those are some funny stories. But the my thing is, you talk about in the book, you were this really good kid. You were a good, moral kid who really loved his wife. And you didn't just all of a sudden show up on Wall Street and then turn into this asshole who was doing drugs. It was a slow.
That was the one big miss of the movie, I think. That was, and I still don't understand why they did that. So, like, I think it was one fundamental.
They just caricaturized you. I didn't like it.
No, well, it was a flaw in the movie because they like one scene. I'm like, well, can't we make our clients money? I love my wife. And then next scene, I'm in a strip club doing drugs. And the truth was, it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
That year that I was, that 6-month period I was training on the Mark Hanna, I was hustling at nighttime, going into office buildings and selling jewelry at night to pay my bills. On the weekends, I was going and selling ices on the beach. I never was close with my first wife. We were like happy and like still struggling, but happy. And then
and she's lovely, but she's the nicest.
Yeah.
I reached out to her when the movie came out.
No, she's also gorgeous. She was playing.
She was terribly portrayed, and that broke my heart. She was beautiful.
Yeah, she was gorgeous. And what happened is that she fell victim to the insanity of stress. There was no one that whoever I was with before that happened, it was going to be different. But I couldn't have stayed with someone like that because it was just like, it got so crazy so quickly. And also she, also had her own issues adjusting to the money because we started hanging out with people that were just, much older than us and doing a lot of drugs and just very bad influences on us. But no matter what happened, I had this persona, and this was, I think, what really came out in the book and not the movie. Okay, is I almost felt like I was an actor playing out a role in my own life. There was really this time for about 2 or 3 years where I felt like it was almost like I was living this art. I discovered the straight line system. I discovered this niche in the market, and every single thing I did, everyone's calling me the king and this and that, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I felt like I was almost playing to an imaginary crowd of it's almost like it wasn't even the decisions it was what I felt like I should be doing versus what I wanted to be doing. And Danny was a terrible influence on me. And I won't blame Danny I can't blame Danny, but
he's who he is.
He's who he is. No, but he was a terrible influence because Danny was he was just this, he had so many great qualities, but for me, he was like, everyone, I'm sure, I don't want to, it's not his fault, I'm just saying, but, he was just like, Danny and I together was like.
He's that friend your parents don't want you to be friends with in high school because they know what path you're going to go down if you start hanging out with them.
I don't want to say that, it's, what it is though, it's more like Danny was the gasoline on my fire. He was gasoline on my fire. Danny
he knew how to push you to do the things that you wouldn't have normally.
Well, let's just say that he was willing to do things I wouldn't do, but he was.
But you didn't stop him from doing them.
No, I made him do them.
Yeah.
That's why I can't blame him. Danny was so loyal to me, and he was also Danny was that loved to get his fingernails dirty in the trenches.
I have to say that people.
So I say, Danny, I want you he was like my perfect. Because if I had to do it myself, I probably would have shied back. But he was very much getting your hands dirty.
You subconsciously surrounded yourself with the perfect running mates for the perfect
basically,
storm.
Yeah.
from the people you worked with, the people you married, they were all people who weren't going to question any morality narrative, and they were all getting
Pretty
something out of it for themselves. And this is the other thing that bothers me. And then using you. Because as much as you're the salesman and you're very brilliant, because you have a kind heart, you get taken advantage of, like we talk with business, but I see it in other ways. You're so generous, that anyone who didn't have a moral compass is very comfortable taking advantage of your generosity. And that drives me nuts. And just so you know, I'm still on the scene, and that's not going to happen. Because I will protect you.
No, so I think that it's true in some. It was back in the day. It was more like a symbiotic relationship with people that are lacking in scruples and morals, because you start to attract it into your life as well. So I think that's a danger always, that when you're doing something, you attract like that the same thing into your life. But at the end of the day, I was the guy making the decisions and coming up with the ideas, and I just had all these different people that were sort of like pawns in my game of chess. So at the end of the day, I'm culpable for it.
But when did you, because I know also at some point you got tired of it all. And you even have said, like, when Coleman, you finally got caught, you were glad. Remember Coleman said that you were like this far away from getting away with everything? Like, that you wouldn't have been caught because it really wasn't, in the grand scheme of what everyone was doing, it was like negligible.
Right.
You just did it wildly. But you are glad it ended. You wanted it to end. What time did you want it to?
I wouldn't. That's so. In retrospect, yes.
But
not when
it
happened.
Yeah, when at the time, did you ever start saying this life is getting boring and tiring, or did you just, it was the one long party?
Well, I had already changed. I was already out of it. In other words, so what happened was I got sober in '97. And I started living a very different type of life. I'd sold Stratton, and I wasn't really involved at all day to day, and I was just sort of.
Weren't you asked to step down then, or had you sold it on your own?
No, I made a deal with the SEC. Unlike the movie, so in the movie they
say you're not going anywhere.
That's not true.
You
I
left.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I actually left, and I made a deal with the SEC, and I still ran it behind the scenes for about a year. Then I didn't. Danny took over and was running it, and I was really running Steve Madden's shoes with Steve, and I was there every single day. And then my drug addiction got really bad over those couple of years, and I had back surgery. It was a couple of bad years I had in there, and then eventually everything changed in '97 when I went to rehab and I got sober, and I emerged out of that in April of '97, and didn't do any more drugs.
This they have wrong in the movie as well.
Right.
Because they have you like going back and doing drugs.
That whole thing
that was
crazy. Doing drugs after I got caught. The timeline's way off in that. So I stopped doing drugs in April '97, and then I looked back, I was like, oh my God. And I started doing a completely different business with Mark Lazier, a good friend of mine. But the wheels of justice grind slowly, and the mistakes I made from many years before that came back to bite me in the ass. And I knew that. I knew it was happening. It was a terrible feeling to waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it would be a lie to say that at the time, I was glad I got caught. Today, I'm glad I got caught because it created a life that I never would have dreamed possible. I mean, who would have, who'd have thunk it? But there's certainly it's a rather circuitous route to becoming rich and famous to go to jail. I'm to say that no one would ever. So you plan this? You decide to get in trouble so you can write a book? I'm like, yeah, it's such a long shot for this to happen. What ended up happening, and for every movie that does get made, 1 in a million becomes a cult hit. But there was something about the story that I think it resonates with people you've seen it in every country, everywhere in the world. It does.
Especially people who've read the book.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where we are, where we've been. Every country loves this story, and it's interesting. The first country to really embrace it was which?
Australia.
Yes, Australia. So Australia was the first country to really embrace it, and ironically, now my reputation is probably worse because that stupid 60 Minutes thing where they just could assassinate my character. Right?
People need to know, if they watch that, in the background there is a little blonde girl's voice who's about to just go Richter on that lady.
So, and ironically,
I can't believe you sat there
that paper that she lifted up was discredited by Judge Gleason But
Yeah.
he ruled in my favor. She was saying like this whole thing, they was trying to not pay my fine. It was ridiculous, right?
She's still.
Anyway, but I still have a big business there in Australia. I have a lot of great people. But that was the first country.
If we can ever get there.
But that country was the first one that really understood the story. And then when the movie came out,
and we had a great manager, Nick.
Yeah,
Fordham.
Nick Fordham was amazing.
Great
Amazing guy. Just really couldn't speak high enough about Nick, and I'm still in touch with him to this day. And then ultimately the movie came out, and then it came out and it was big, and then it died, and then it was like a year or two, and then something bizarre happened. Like next thing, my daughter's like, "Dad, I'm in college."
I think the Wes Walker song did it too.
She's like, she goes, "I'm in college, and there's this song that everyone keeps playing at every party, every football." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "There's a song called Jordan Belfort." She goes, "And people are dressing up for you as Halloween." I'm like, "What?" So the movie comes out, and then it was like big, and then like that year it was like so I think it came out in Christmas, and the next Halloween, some people dressed up as me, but then something happened. I think what happened is that it was the most pirated movie in the history of movies. A lot of countries, they had these trimmed down versions because they didn't show the full because of all the F-bombs, right? And then, and what happened is when the movie made it onto iTunes and got on DVD, it's like it became this it was really, you watched it happen. It was nutty. And suddenly, I started noticing I couldn't walk down the street. We're like, how does everyone recognize me? And then
I don't know how. I don't recognize anybody. I don't know how people recognize.
And then
you.
it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's just like, it keeps getting bigger. I mean, it's at this point it'll never end because it's such a cult hit, and it's a coming of age movie.
A life of its own now.
Taking a life of its own now, and so I guess since I realized that, probably in 2016, 17, I realized how big it had gotten. I was almost in denial of it for a while because it almost seemed weird because it was my life. And everyone kept telling me, dude, you understand like how big your brand is. And I was like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then it always became about protecting it, like not trying to sell out and do something stupid.
We weren't going to do that.
Yeah. And
when you talk about that, I just want to ask you, in all your travels and all the PR since the movie was hit, what was the most embarrassing moment of your life when you had to go to an event? Can you remember what it was? When we all realized that we didn't even want to sleep with each other anymore after being in the presence of this. We probably wrecked Bowen forever because he was there. Do you remember what it was? In Switzerland? When we went to that bar and you had to judge the women.
God.
It was so bad.
I had to judge a beauty contest. And
it was so bad.
Let's just say the definition of beauty in this contest was full of suspect.
But that wasn't even the worst part.
That wasn't it. The
we
worst
walked
part
out on
was
the
that
stage.
I walked out on stage, and you and Bowen were in the audience in the
No,
side.
we were being next to you at this point.
Anyway, all I know is that it was a big audience, maybe a couple thousand people, and in the distance I see something coming at me on the ceiling, and I'm like, what's that? And I see, and there's like a mannequin midget in a crash helmet, and they have him on a zip line coming at me, but the midget's obviously like, it's a mannequin, the arms are hanging down in some weird way, and it's like this cheesiest thing where they're trying to recreate the midget tossing scene, and the midget comes, he stops halfway, and they gets caught, everyone's looking up at the midget, I'm like, and then they jiggle it, and midget comes down and slowly, painfully
and then they
drops at my feet.
And then you had to go up on some platform where the whole place could just watch you sit there and do nothing, and until you came down to judge. But just because people just wanted to see you.
That was
really
horrifying. The midget.
That was bad.
Yeah, that was pretty horrifying.
That was really bad. I think it's one of the worst. What's your other people approaching you? 'Cause here's what I like about you. It doesn't matter if it's 20 people, 50 people, you're always respectful and appreciative of your fans because they're your fans. You've always taken the time to take pictures. You're always respectful. Is there any time where it's gotten really out of control? I mean, I know there's times where you've had bodyguards. But without bodyguards, any times where there hasn't been the bodyguards?
There was one time, I think it was July 4th, and you and I were at the beach many years ago, and we're sitting outside on our deck. We had a house on the ocean, and there's a strand, people walk by, and I was playing backgammon or something, and some like 6-7-year-old kid walks by, and he stops, he walks into the property, and goes, "Excuse me, are you the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort?" He's like literally 7 years old. I'm like, yeah. Goes, I'm your biggest fan. It's my favorite book.
I was like, who are your parents?
Where are you? Did you? I'm like, what do you mean? Did you watch? No, I read the book and I watched the movie. He was like 7. I'm like, oh my
You're
God.
not, and Jordan is not exaggerating.
I'm like, no, that was like the craziest thing. And like, he wanted to pick a picture, please. I was like, okay, yeah. So that was one moment. And then I think one of the funnier moments was when I was in Ecuador and I was on stage giving a speech. There was a few thousand people in the audience, and I had the usual bodyguards, like the seminar, like security guards, right? And I was trying to teach people about perceived authority and you know, the power of perceived authority and that if you think someone's an authority figure, you'll listen to them even if they're really not. And I said, guys, take for instance what happened at the last break. I said, you know, you guys, I know you all wanted to take pictures with me and you started rushing up, but as soon as you saw the 4 security guards stand in front of me, you guys stopped and you made way because they're security guards and they have badges. But you know, these guys aren't really security guards. These guys are just no ones. They're just like people that put a little badge on. They're not cops. They have no power. And as I'm saying this, I'm like, this is a really stupid thing to be saying because I'm not done with the seminar yet. And I was going to reel the world's back, but it was too late. And I'm like, so what could they really do? If you and I said, anyway, and I moved on. I get off stage, and the crowd starts rushing. They see the guys. They knock over the people because now they realize they're idiots. And they start swarming. I could not. I had thousands of people on me. So they called the real police. Now I couldn't get to my dressing room. Finally, I get to my dressing room. People are banging on the door. It's a true story, right? So now with Haley, and we're like, how the hell are we gonna get out? It's like thousands of people clamoring for pictures. So they called the real police. But no, at this point, I had already blown the whole thing of authority, so no one was listening to it. So they had to have a ring of police circle me out, and people are hitting them, and it was the craziest thing.
This is the other thing about you. You do cause a lot.
No, I
of
was
your
like, this is something
own
I brought into my own life.
Because after 12 years with you, I do see that chaos has a tendency to just happen.
Yeah.
And people will listen to stories and you think, oh, you're exaggerating. And I always thought Jordan was full of it too. Like, it took a good bunch of years with you to realize, no, this stuff really happens. Like when I met your roommate, we were out to dinner in New York, and who's sitting across from us, but your roommate from college.
Yeah.
And he came up and he validated every single thing you said. And then we were at the end of Montauk or something.
that was the nuts. That was the craziest thing ever. So we rented a house in the Hams about maybe 10 years ago. And I was telling you the story about how crazy my father was, right? How he was just...
And I think Jordan's exaggerating.
Because he had to be exaggerating,
your dad,
right? Because
he was
he's so
sweet,
nice now,
yeah.
right? He passed away. But and it was a story about this kid named Tom Nimzig who was like eating in the boardroom. My father literally like went out and hit him, smacked the kid in the face, like while he's in the boardroom. And then, of course, like that was like a way to go to me and then say, hey, I'm loyal. Your father smacked me, and now can I have?
And I'm thinking, great story.
And I'm telling you the story about
whatever.
how my father, and it's like, he's like, whatever, there's no way. You know, like my father actually physically assaulted someone. You know, my father, if someone parked in his spot, he would take out a 7-iron and crack their windows. You wouldn't believe this, right? Anyway, so this is like on a Tuesday, and we're in like Southampton. The next day, we take the rent-a-car out. We drive all the way to the tip of Montauk. It's like the very tip of Long Island.
You can't go further.
Next stop is Europe, right? And we go to the end of this lighthouse, this pier. And as we get to the end of the pier, as we're like at the very end, some guy's like, Jordan, is that you? I look, it's Tom Nimzig, the kid from the story I told you.
And he tells
the
whole
exact
story.
Same.
Every time I've met anyone from Jordan's past, the stories do not change.
They don't seem like they're possible, but they really happen.
They really do. And I've had too much social and random meetings that prove it, or even just we borrowed your friend's car, and because all he had was it the Lamborghini?
It's a Ferrari.
Ferrari, and I didn't want to drive it because it wasn't mine. It's in New York. I don't know New York, and you're with Jordan, so you don't just get pulled over. You get pulled over in a car with no license, registration, missing other forms.
And my friend was rich, a partner at Goldman Sachs. He forgot to register his car because he never used it. It's like, well, how would I know? Like, he's like the most upstanding citizen.
We're pulled over for 45 minutes. You're still...
on
I think
probation.
You were on probation.
And
you
I'm like, oh my God, I
yeah.
had special pass to go to New York. And then here I am getting pulled over for a car. And I'm like, and then Ann, of course, you're like, I'll just get out and I'm going to go yell at the cops.
I didn't yell. I just wanted to find out what's going on.
I'm like, Ann, stay in the car. This is New York City cops. She's like, no, and she gets out.
They were very nice.
Anyway, though I do believe that shit just happens to me. Now, maybe I must bring it on myself to some degree, but I think there are some people that just attract interesting happenings. And I think that some of it is that I think the gifts that I have put me in positions that most people don't end up in. So I get in these extreme positions and surrounded in areas that normally people don't go to, and driving cars or boats, whatever it might be. So yeah, things do happen to me, and some of it's my own doing, but I think some of it's just the craziness of the universe.
Yeah, but you attract a little of it. Yes. Yeah, but so back to the point. Yes, it's real. Like everything you said, because otherwise someone would have sued. If you said anything not true in the book.
Correct. So I think there was.
You know what? I have a question.
What?
We can edit this out. I mean, you were with all those women and prostitutes. I always find it odd not one has reached out. Is it because they were prostitutes and then maybe they're dead, or is it just because no one wants to claim they're a prostitute? I always feel like if I was a prostitute, like maybe I'd want to reach out and go, "Hey, Jordan, remember me?" Not one has reached out.
For example, the one Venice the hooker,
yeah,
she actually did reach out. She did at some point. I forgot. I think she did, and it was like through some post, and I didn't find it in time. And I went back and tried to respond. She wasn't there or something.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah. So she was a real one, and there were some great stories of like some helicopter flight I took. I don't want to give names. But the whole thing was like it turned out.
Oh my gosh! Now one of our friends is actually dating someone that was in the book, and we didn't even know it till we showed up at the house.
And it's like just a really weird thing with some
that doesn't even make sense. That's how weird your world is.
I know. So I mean, all in all, I think that if you look at most people's lives, I think you could find extreme weird stuff that happens to them.
Not as consistently as yours.
If they're willing to put themselves out there so much. Some people don't put themselves out there that much. Like they don't put themselves in positions to have success or failure. They live a smaller, less grand life. And I believe people should go and live their life to the fullest.
They should just live. Yeah. Although I'm as you said, I'm the world's greatest underachiever. I've never felt I had something to prove. So I don't have that need to do more. I don't know what that is, but I certainly, if I get an opportunity, I just do it. I figure
You're a doer, not a don'ter.
I'm a doer, not a don'ter.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, but I'm not. We don't have the same view of what we're supposed to be doing with our lives at all. I think.
For me, I think that
you're a great provider. You've always defined yourself also as a provider.
My family.
For your family. You've been, which sadly I think there's very few men left in the world. They're trying to weed them out. And you are that manly man that you like taking care of people. You like being the man.
I think my one of my highest values is making sure that everybody that I love is provided for.
I know you're very good at that, and you've always. And I remember one of the nights again when it was subsequent to your telling me that I could never make enough money to make a difference. You said, "No, you don't have to worry because even if I have to go door to door selling fuller brushes, I will make sure that we are taken care of." And I thought, "Wow, that's
You've
amazing."
seen me do it.
I've seen you do whatever
You've seen me flyer cars.
When we got into that mistaken business opportunity that you thought, well, we might as well try it. And you said, I'm not going to trust that this works unless I do it myself. So you were taking a job that you probably pay people $2 an hour to do out in the middle of armpit America. And you were flying cars because it's not about pride. It's about getting the work done right.
Well, to me, it's like, it's a business, and making money is like a game I'm playing it like and sometimes you got to take on certain roles, right? And one thing is I need is accurate information. So I didn't want to pay someone to do something and it didn't work and say, well, how do I know they really did the job?
Exactly.
So I want to do it myself. So I actually went out and flyered cars to see what the response rate would be before I would pay other people to do it for me. But I still do that. I went out a 2 months ago, and I started knocking on doors again just for the day because I'm helping trading companies in certain solar and pest control, and I wanted to really see what it was about. So before I trained the sales forces of these companies, I wanted to go out there. It's a little hard nowadays. I get recognized all the time, so it could be a bit awkward. I tried to do it with car dealerships, and I couldn't get past one dealership. Every single car dealership I walked into, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking for a new car. They're like, and the sale was the background. So within 30 seconds, they're like, what are you doing here? So
Well, that didn't happen at that Porsche dealership.
that was before the movie came out.
That was the worst salesman ever.
That was, yeah. We were,
Okay, who's your, I don't know if you've brought this up. You went door to door selling meat and seafood. Who's one of the people that you sold meat and seafood to that people may not know?
This is a crazy story. So if you're listening, Jeanine Puro,
Judge Jeanine Puro.
Judge Jeanine from Fox News. All right, this is such a weird story. I was 21, and she was living in a neighborhood in, I think it was Scarsdale, Westchester, or Scarsdale, or was it Harrison? And I would go door to door, and I used to go to these really wealthy, nice, big homes because I was a young kid, and I just knock, and say, "Hey, I'm, deliver meat and seafood to your neighbors. I got some extra boxes on the truck. I'll give you a great deal." And I knock on one door, and she comes out. She's very attractive, young. She's probably in her 30s or late mid-30s.
She's still attractive,
right? And she's like, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "I'm the district attorney. I can get you locked up for soliciting." She goes, "But you're cute. Okay, what do you got?" And she bought like 10 boxes
so
from her. And she bought like 10 boxes. And she was the greatest customer. And she was just fucking with me. And she bought like a whole bunch of meat from me. And I kept trying to go back to her every like 2 months.
Judge Jeanine.
Judge Jeanine.
I think you should have Jordan on your show just because it would
really
be funny. Yeah.
She was just like, her personality then was the same exact way as she is now. She was really feisty and like she was really nice though. And she bought a bunch of boxes from me. Yeah. Judge Jeanine.
Yeah, we have so many stories, and I want to do that where we break down the movie and the truths and untruths. But it's important to me because I love you that people know you. I think I know no matter how the highs and lows of our relationship, I wouldn't change it for anything because you do help people be their best selves. I learned so much being with you. I became more me, a better me, a stronger me, a more aware me. You helped me find out about me, and you have a great gift. And anyone who says otherwise about you, I have issues with.
Thank you.
Because, no one's perfect. And as much as they think they might be, but nobody's perfect. And you have never done anything out of meanness.
No, I'm not mean.
You're not mean. We can get angry at each other, but that's just our wounds we're speaking. But you aren't mean.
No, I never try being to anybody. I'm just not a mean person.
You're the most.
I don't like mean people.
Yeah, you're actually gentle. You're very gentle. Yeah, but not to the point where you. There's the point where you are, which is what I respect, and then there's people who need to be liked by everybody and try to be nice to everybody, and I find that is...
No, it's not yet. It's not that.
Inauthentic.
I don't care whether people like me or not.
That's inauthentic.
I just don't go out of my way. I try to go out of my way not to hurt people.
Yes, you do that.
Yeah.
No, you're a really good man.
I try.
Well, that's all you can do. I mean,
process.
No, I'm not saying you don't fail.
I do fail.
A bunch.
Exactly.
But we all do. But I think that I want people to see the real you and appreciate the real you. And you aren't the guy from the movie. There's crazy stories, but that isn't you. That's a caricature of you.
So let me ask you a question. I know it's your podcast. So tell everybody about, like, I think my first episode or second episode,
I have, because the first one I did with you put pressure on me. You said, this isn't going to air until you do 2 podcasts, right? So I did 2 from my place in Tahoe, which is hard because I'm in Tahoe. But one was with my girlfriend who is a seer psychic. And there's a lot of questions about that kind of world. So I'm just about asking questions. I want to open my mind. And I know I've been, like we talked about, in the echo chamber. And I think everyone needs to open their minds. We could have better dialogues, find out where people are coming from, so we can have more understanding and less divide. And then the other one was just a random guy I followed on Instagram who just has out there posts. But I was trying to figure out where he's coming from. And then I have another few today. And
so what's the basis of what's the podcast about?
It's really about questioning the narrative and opening people's minds.
The narrative of what's going on in the world.
What's going on in the world, and even how we individually perceive the world or our own thoughts. if let's say someone's a staunch Republican, why are you so staunchly Republican? Why are you staunchly a Democrat? Why don't you believe in either? Why do you not believe in aliens? Why do you? If we understand people's why, I think we can get closer to each other. And I think we need to all open our minds. They've been very close. Our school system is just keeping people from having an individual thought process. And I think we need to re-educate, uneducate, unlearn a lot of things and relearn with a better perspective.
Cool.
So that's what it's about. I don't know that, and I think I'm going to really probably frustrate a lot of people because I'm not saying that it's too easy to follow the narrative, right?
Yeah.
And I think life is one grand adventure. And how do you have adventures if you don't use your imagination and think outside the box and be open to new things? Then you aren't having an adventure. You're living a boring life.
I like it.
And we've never lived boring lives. No.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
It. I asked you a lot of personal questions and wanted people to know things about you that no one knows. Is there anything about me you think that no one knows or should know?
Well, I think there's one misconception of you.
Just one.
One major one that's kind of funny, but everyone looks at your pictures and you're very thin, right?
Sometimes.
People, you're always thin. People will make comments like,
Eat a sandwich.
Eat a sandwich. If this woman consumes about 5,000 calories every. I'm not quite sure how it happens, but you eat more food than any 3 people I know. You out eat a Navy SEAL. I've seen you out drink Mark Simmons, who's like a 250-pound burly Australian. You could out drink and out eat on a daily basis. Seriously, and I don't understand what's going on, but you probably consume, I'm guessing, at least 3,000 plus calories a day, and your dinner takes you 2.5 hours to eat.
Well, I do most of it all at dinner. Yeah,
You
I do enjoy dinner.
Eat. It's unbelievable the amount of food. So when people write things like "eat more," it's like the funniest thing to me because you are literally the biggest pig you're like a pig. No food is safe in front of you, basically, and you eat everything.
Not when I'm in the mood.
No, it's unbelievable, and you're always in the mood. And then also drinking, by the way, your ability to drink alcohol is like you're Irish, all right? You have a complete wooden leg. So like I've actually put you out there, like when I'm with my friend, like they'll say, "Oh, I'm not a drinker," I'll say, "And represent," and you'll go out there and you'll like on jet lag, you out drunk Mark Simmons under the table, who'll respect you forever for that.
I've been trying to tone it down a bit. It was getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
I embraced that whole COVID lockdown thing a little too strong in the beginning. But I want to say thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Coming on my podcast and for encouraging me to do something scary and not in my comfort zone, because this is not my comfort zone. But I like knowing that you're on my team and you're my back, so that
I got your back.
Makes all the difference.
Thank you.
And I got yours.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and share this with all your friends. My podcast and page are called The Quiet Girl, and she's finally finding her voice.
Is that thequietgirl.com also?
Yes.
Awesome. Thequietgirl.com.
Yes.
Terrific.
She's found her voice, or she's finding it.
Awesome.
Thank you.